Hi, Scott. I'm very excited to have you. We already been speaking for like 15 minutes and it's been a blast. I don't know if I will share the part before or we'll just stream and start from here. But anyway, just to make it somewhat formal, maybe share with the listeners a bit about your background story.
Sure. I'm Scott Desgrosseilliers, founder and CEO of Wicked Reports. We're a marketing attribution platform. I've always been really into statistics from back when I was like 11, 12 years old. I used to go to the horse races with my dad, and I would attempt to create my own systems to predict the winner of the horses based on the data. I didn't call it prediction with data. I was just trying to win, my $2 bet.
Uh-huh.
Illegally, I was not old enough to bet, but my dad let me.
Uh-huh.
I was always been drawn to that. And then when I got out of college, I was a NASDAQ day trader before online trading. It was all phones, and I'd use data to predict my stocks and all that.
Mhm.
And then I got into database design. And then one day, this was about 12, 13 years ago, a friend of mine that was selling lobsters online at getmainlobster.com said, "Man, Facebook's terrible for lobster." And I said, "Why is that?" And he said, "I spent 4 grand, it was my whole budget. I only made one sale. I'm never doing that again." And I was like, well, I mean, maybe the people are going to buy the next day. Like, we're from Maine where it's you ship a lot of lobster. I'm like, you got to go talk to your spouse. What day do we want them shipped? There's all these things. And I'm just going to click and buy it on an impulse. And he's like, well, how am I going to know if they buy later? And I was like, let me find you some software or whatever. And anything that was out there was like 100K plus.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, hey, I think I could do this. He paid me a little amount. And I set up this very convoluted test, but we're able to find out that he actually was making 10 to 1 on his money. So for 4 grand, he'd make 40 grand. This was back in 2014, not now. You
Uh-huh.
can do that.
Yeah.
And it was because he would run the ads, people would join his list and buy off email or buy, down the road. But there was a lag before conversion, even
Yeah.
back in the old days when traffic was super cheap.
Mhm.
And so then I had that done, and then word spread, and Fusionsoft had me in to like teach some of their clients, and then I needed more and more tools, and the next thing I knew, I had a business. And then it just kept growing. There's such demand for what we do, and so that's kind of how I got into it. And then it's been 11, 12 years now. I do invent attribution model. I invented some things, and you know, when you're at something for 12 years, you hopefully become expert at it.
Uh-huh.
So I
Nice.
say I'm an expert at it, but if I wasn't, that'd be pretty sad. I've been doing it for 12 years.
Amazing, amazing. And okay, I have so many different rabbit holes and questions that I'd like to ask, but maybe if you start like from a zoom out perspective, um, how do you consider the biggest changes since, first of all, what was the impact of the iOS changes in 2021 on the business, and how do you consider this in comparison to the AI revolution or what's happening these days?
Yeah. The iOS changes were fantastic for us
Uh-huh.
because suddenly the metadata was complete crap. It was still called Facebook, I think. Facebook data was crap.
Uh-huh.
And everyone knew it, so they went out to get a solution. So a lot more people became in market because Facebook overnight the data was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a wonderful thing.
Uh-huh.
I love
Nice.
iOS changes, at least the ones so far.
Uh-huh.
So that was great. And we scrambled and we have all these mitigations built. If they keep restricting certain things, we have solutions intellectually solved on the
Mm-hmm.
shelf to bring in. But,
Nice.
it's extra setup, which we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to put on our clients.
Yeah.
So AI has changed it a lot where it's about to make things, in my opinion, much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Not because AI gets an answer so quick and vomits a ton of slop,
Mm-hmm.
but with the right deterministic AI, which I think we'll get into, with the right approach to AI, you can make the attribution modeling and what model do I pick, all the decisions to analyze the data correctly can be done for you almost instantly. And so you'll always get the right advice. Whatever your data is trying to tell you, you will at least get the message. You may not listen or you may apply the advice wrong, but at least it used to be really hard to analyze attribution and to get the insights. And now that's going to be no longer the case very soon.
Mm-hmm. This is very interesting. I remember that I interviewed many years ago a guy who also I think I had a platform related to attribution, and he said that there are layers. One layer is just showing the data, and the other layer, which they try to solve back in the days, is providing useful insights. And I think it
Mm.
was hard. I think it was very hard when you don't have the context and when you don't have smart LLMs. But these days, as you're saying, LLMs are becoming very smart, and probably it will be able to generate better insights. And I would like to double click on this. What have you seen recently that kind of surprised you or customers in terms of insights that were not straightforward?
Yeah, so particularly within the same context window, if you can keep that memory going,
Mhm.
it does it can thread together a couple different things, meaning like cohort analysis, which is analyzing lifetime, the accrued value over time of
Mhm.
a certain subset of customers tied into your click performance.
Mhm.
That's something we do, and I see the LLM can do it with enough prompting. And it's getting better at it. It also, though, what I found is that it still approximates. Like when you're in there using an LLM, it's generative by trade, which means start with a blank chat box, you say stuff in it. It probabilistically tries to answer your question. And what I'm finding is, and even with enough prompting, then it will maybe not be probabilistic, but it'll still just use the info at hand and a generalized expertise. And so that's great for generating an email, generating an image. Well, the image you still need, as you mentioned, like 70 different evals
Yeah.
to get an image right. So the images are an initial image of show a cat riding a bike. It can do that. But when you try to get precise, it takes a
Mhm.
lot of time and effort, probably almost as much as it would if you just had a designer do
Yeah.
it. That defeats the whole purpose. If you're in there all day prompting it to get the design to look right, and you could have been doing something else and had a designer do it, then you just lost that time to say, I did it with AI.
Yeah.
And that's what we found in a lot of analysis. So we released something very deterministic to be the way we wanted to go. So then you could have a strict rule, but we can get more into that, but a strict approach to here's what the data means from our expertise. Then the LLM can take that and generate further analysis. But we've already got the guardrails of we've given it the correct diagnostic assessment because it's science. It's
Mhm.
not probabilistic, it's science when we're doing data evaluation.
Yeah. And do you think that people, I mean, from your interaction with customers, do you get the observation? Do you have an observation that they understand the difference between the deterministic processes and why it is useful in opposing to the stochastic or probabilistic nature of LLMs? What is your feel in terms of the audience out there? Because I feel that many people who have like ecom stores that care about attribution or even mobile gaming founders or media buyers, they don't necessarily have time to invest in learning LLMs and all this stuff. So they're a bit lagging
Yeah.
behind, which is fine because they have other stuff to do. But what is your observation in terms of people understanding the value of this yet or not really?
Yeah, I don't think they do yet.
Mhm.
It's more because I mean, with attribution, you need a couple things. You need the
Mhm.
data to be accurate. Then you need to be able to analyze it correctly, and then you go off and do the action that the attribution does, the three steps.
Yeah.
And then often there's another one where you have to signal to the platforms certain data points so that it improves its performance based
Mhm.
on your attributed data. And if you can't do all those, then you're missing. Like we'd have people sometimes that would churn and they'd have very actionable data. Like, yeah, I'm just not using the data that much. And we'd be like, ah. So I was like, I got to solve that. We've got to solve that problem. And AI is allowing us to do that without go watch a bunch of training videos or pay a higher paid person to be on and train them weekly
Uh-huh.
or all the other things we used to try to do. Now it's just going to be delivered on a platter. But in terms of the positioning, I think it's more our attribution expertise is now embedded in your AI for you. So it's done
Mhm.
for you analysis, not as, and so as to how to sell that in, we're in the process of that. So I only have theories right now. I don't have
Yeah.
the perfect messaging that's going to work. I just know that that's the facts of the case. I don't know if that's the hook that's going to close people.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, I'm bootstrapping as well. I told you about Rospig. It's a platform for performance marketers. And what I'm seeing from the market these days, in opposing to what used to happen like 2 or 3 or 5 years ago, which you only had to say what is your unique selling proposition versus the competition, you also need to convince them why not to build in-house. Because everyone now these days wants to build in-house because it seems very easy. You just spin, base 44 or bolt new or V0. You just build a proof of concept and they think that they are good to go. But
Yeah.
there is such a huge difference between, building a prototype and building something that is really valuable and can go to production. And I'm wondering what are your thoughts around this, and how are you planning to bake in the expertise into your system? And
Yeah.
really, I call it time to value. I want to show customers very fast why they cannot do what we're doing, why they shouldn't build in-house.
Yeah. I mean, attribution, you have to have the right data to begin with. And we
Mhm,
have about 20,000 lines of code
mhm,
to figure out who someone is and what credit they does to build that
uh-huh,
identity graph. And I'm sure AI can hack up something so-so. But
uh-huh,
there's so many gotchas that we learned on the line of
mhm,
fire that only people that are working at other companies like ours in the tech
yeah,
department know what it took to get things accurate.
uh-huh,
And the number one thing people come to us for is accurate data. Now, they
mhm,
actually need accurate data, but then they don't. They actually need give me instruction that's going to allow me to be more profitable.
mhm,
But you need the accurate attribution or else it doesn't matter. So that accuracy is a decent moat because it's very challenging and tough.
uh-huh.
You can't, it's just hard. And then
Amazing.
there's the putting the data in a way you can use it. And then there's the agents and the analysis to extract out the final value.
Uh-huh.
So there's a lot there. But I mean, there is that element of that where
Mhm.
if we're not making it easy enough, they're not going to pay us, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why this summer is very big for us. We're releasing all this done for you analysis. Both we've had an agent that's been delivering precise instructions as a
Mhm.
report, and it just tells one word and it narrows down the advice to scale, kill, or chill.
Uh-huh.
Scale,
Nice.
spend more, kill, spend less, chill, don't touch.
Uh-huh.
And
Nice.
then we got a fourth one called observing, which is a lot of expertise to say, don't do anything, either because you just did something or it's too new. You shouldn't act yet because we need more data. And that's
Mhm.
something that LLMs wouldn't necessarily be properly trained on. If you cut your ad spend right away on something and then you upload the data a week later and your sales cycle's a month, all of your ROAS and CAC will look better because you just cut the spend and you have trailing
Yeah.
conversions. LLM wouldn't know that. It'll say,
Yeah.
hey, scale. Or it'll always want to scale brand, always. And it's like, well, brand's the just the reservoir that catches all the other marketing. You don't
Mhm.
want to scale brand spend.
Yeah.
Only Google tells you to do that.
Exactly.
So that's two small cases that are easier ones to explain, but there's like, I don't know, probably 200 of those.
Uh-huh.
And so that's why I think people wouldn't build in our particular space, but it's
Mhm.
always a thing to consider before you go out there is
Mhm.
like, what do I have as a moat? And it's the
Amazing.
workflows and the expertise and the data. Those are the moats that are available that I can see in my world.
Mhm.
So,
Amazing. Now, I mean, you've been in the space for a while now, you mentioned that. And now that you build the agents, I know it's a bit of a abstract question. What mindset shifts did it take for you to start designing the agents, which were, it's not a UX UI, it's not what everyone knows, it's kind of a new realm. So what did you feel that you had to change in terms of your perspective, or was there any key learnings that
yeah,
you had to
it
implement in the
was. That's a
agent?
good question. Well, first it was on our development process.
Mhm,
It wasn't that Claude is necessarily better than a person. It was faster. It was faster, maybe not always better
mhm,
until it got trained. It was massively less expensive.
uh-huh,
But it also the front end UI we could do with prompt engineering. I mean, massive amount. I mean, it took 3 months. So yes, we have a UI that's about coming out with that's built by AI.
Mhm.
Took months to get it right though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it took 2 days, 80%
Yeah,
in
exactly.
2 days. The last 20%, we're finally releasing. I think we started like April 15th. So just under 2 months. We'll launch actually next week.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it took, yeah, one day to get 80%, and then what was that? 59 days to get it good though, to get it
Yeah.
acceptable. And that's what people wouldn't know if they haven't built software. All this vibe coding thing.
Yeah.
I mean, AI is not going to think of everything for you. This reminds me of the bubble with the internet. Everything was going to be easier. All this time on our hands we were going to have. No, everyone's busier than ever. Nothing's really easier. And now
Yeah.
with all these AI chatbots on the help desk, like it's faster as long as you nail your question and the bot's trained perfectly.
Yeah.
But usually they aren't. And then you just got to say human, human,
Yeah.
human.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I mean, the mindset shift for me was when I saw my product manager's first time he even dabbled with it. I said, "Hey, here's some things, I wish that we would do differently. Go off and horse around with Lovable for a couple days." And he came
Uh-huh.
back after 20 hours and blew my mind. He said, "This was 20 hours," and I was like, "Oh my God."
Uh-huh.
He was like, I was like, what I could picture was a workflow where he was on with a customer, they told him stuff, and if it wasn't involving new data, we could have a version of that UI for that customer for everyone in a couple days
Mm-hmm.
with our automated testing and all that, rather than the old way was slow.
Yeah.
You got to go get a Figma design, then you got to
Sure.
translate it to the UI code, then the contract to the data, and then all the database do something. I mean, stuff that is necessary, but it moves forever. And now we cut out two of the four steps.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what it was, seeing what was done in 20 hours. I was like, we have to get here. So it was very painful decisions that were made, I think April 1st, give or take. So it's only 2.5 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the results of that is landing. But it'll change the mindset also is going to change the whole experience of the product manager and the customers and the support team. Team gets feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Product manager meets, and either the help docs are updated or the app's updated, is like a very continual improvement cycle once
Nice.
the architecture's fixed. So we're just about there. We're like, I mean, this time next month, that'll be their whole work will change. It'll be like just responding and improving, not, oh, add it to the backlog
Yeah.
someday.
Yeah.
It'll be like, hey, do we need to do this? All right, go do it, and we'll have it next week. It won't be like, I don't know, shit, 4 months from now. So
Yeah.
the mindset shift of how the work was going to change for the people long term, and then what hard decisions to make short term, and then realizing that, oh my God, we have to just give people the answers. And how great would the software be? We could move to free trials, quick time to value, and have it all be a system and with more precision
Uh-huh.
rather than like all these people are hopefully doing these things right. And then hopefully our customers are looking here and there. I'll know for sure they're getting the value out of it. And that's the best we can do. That's the best expression of what I'm trying to do. So
Amazing.
it was massive. It was massive.
Amazing. Amazing. Now let's talk a bit from a practical perspective in terms of an attribution and low-hanging fruit. What are some things that you see, or not necessarily relevant to AI, but that you see that people are still overlooking these days with all the tools and all the knowledge, and you can connect post-hoc and you can do error analysis and you can do so many stuff and analyze screen recordings and everything, and but still people are overlooking. Like, what are the fundamentals that you still feel that people are overlooking in terms of attribution?
Yeah, the one of the biggest fundamentals is most of the reason for marketing is to find new customers. And the data sets are usually flawed and biased with a ton of returning customers.
Hmm.
So that's why you see this rosy ROAS inside of Meta in your bank account isn't growing at all.
Hmm.
Because it's cannibalizing your existing customers that convert email, SMS, or direct because they already
Yeah.
know your brand.
Hmm.
And so the most important and difficult job is finding cold traffic that later converts to new customers at a higher AOV than your CAC or with short or medium term LTV that is worth the short term, maybe break even.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a fundamental thing that when people go and look in Google Analytics 4 and Meta and Google, they're getting a skewed version of reality that fits the platform's getting more money
Yeah.
and ignoring the valuable owned media channels of email, SMS. AI is not really a huge one yet. It will be, but it's not yet.
Yeah.
Direct. And so to do that, you got to segment the traffic and then score just how the cold traffic turns to new customers, which then you see your NCAC, which is new customer acquisition
Mm-hmm.
costs, can be a lot higher than you thought.
Yeah.
Pretty stressful at first, but at
For
least
sure.
you got reality. And then you
Uh-huh.
go to work fixing it, which we have all kinds of data and recommendations that do fix it, and people get very happy.
Uh-huh.
Uh, not always, but often.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes you can't fix things. And that's the biggest thing that, people still, you want to, if you want to draw new customers, you got to measure just new customers.
Mm-hmm.
And you need data that's clean with just new customers and strict. And then you get the real reality. You can go from there.
Nice. So let's say I want to make sure that my data is clean. What are some like quick wins? Just making sure that the UTMs are intact or.
UTMs are table stakes.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make sure you have UTMs on everything. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
a lot easier now. A lot of them have variables.
Mm-hmm.
Snap, I believe Snap, TikTok, Meta, Pin all have variables,
Exactly.
so they'll place the name in
Yeah,
there for you.
exactly.
So it's just a matter of making sure you set up your
The
ads
template.
correctly with the
Mm-hmm.
placeholders, and if you dupe
Yeah,
them or whatever, it's going to have that
yeah,
placeholder in there. And then you needed the tracking script to hit. The tracking script has to see it.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes that doesn't happen. People have redirects on their page based on
Yeah,
country or whatever purpose they're doing. If they don't pass through the UTMs, you lose them.
yeah,
And then you need to capture them on all your forms, which are, if you're using everyone's hodgepodge websites and e-com sites have all this different tech. Each
yeah,
tech loads from a different domain. It
yeah,
usually needs the script in there.
yeah,
That's just to hopefully get semi-clean data. Then you got to cross-reference your CRM and your cart so you can place them in the right funnel.
yeah,
Then you have at least, then you have to have all the domain knowledge to then when you get clicks in, because sometimes the timing of the click doesn't match what really happened. You got to know how to place them in the identity graph in the right
yeah,
spot, and then that ripples through, and you reattribute the credit once a new click lands. So yeah, it's a lot.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I'm like, oh my
That's
God, we
just to
need this
get to
AI.
where you've got one person's click in the right spot of their funnel. Then all the work begins at that point.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, well, let me pay him for the agent instead. Awesome, cool. I want to be respectful of your time. So, is there anything else that we didn't discuss or that you'd like to mention that you think would be important for the listeners?
I think from what I've talked about with attribution,
Hmm.
not caution, but just give a tip for the listener.
Hmm.
Don't LLMs are wonderful, but when it's specific expertise, you can't take it at face value because it's always your biggest cheerleader.
Hmm.
Geez, great idea. And then you see that it missed something in the plan. Oh, that's an awesome observation. Well, I was just going to run with your other plan that totally blew off. I had let go of a guy in October who sent me our website redo plan. It was 6 months. I was like, why is it going to take 6 months? Like, I don't get it. He's like, why do you keep saying that? I was like, well, the outline below, and he hadn't even read the output at the bottom. I'm like, you're done. I don't want to read. If you're not even going to read your AI, why am I going to pay you for your AI just to pass through? You got to apply your expertise, and you got to be critical of it because it always sounds great.
Hmm.
I had some great emails AI wrote. I was like, these are awesome. No one cared. My open rates were down. My click rates were down. They look great.
Uh-huh.
And then AI is like, oh man, you're gonna kill it, And I'm like, no, I didn't.
Exactly.
So that's something I'd say. I mean, it's awesome tool. I love it. It's not going anywhere, but the more precise you can get it versus just accepting probabilistic estimation
Hmm.
when the task calls for it. I think that's a key thing for people to learn and understand.
Yeah, I think it's so important because LLM was trained on general knowledge. So, for example, I just read a post this morning. This guy who connected an MCP to Meta, and the LLM proposed to him do more add to cart campaign and more initiated checkout campaigns. Now, anyone who is a media buyer in the e-commerce space knows that these campaigns are worthless. You only do for purchase no matter what, even if you don't have the 50 events recommended by Meta. Because if you ask for add to cart, you will get add to carts, but these people are tire kickers. But this is like this is common knowledge that the LM believe
Mhm.
in, but it's completely untrue.
Perfect example. That's a perfect
Exactly.
example. And those
Exactly.
happen everywhere all the time.
Exactly.
And also, it's learning on everything in YouTube and everything in Reddit. You've been on Reddit? There's a bunch of freaking weirdos on. There's some nice people.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of weirdos on there too, spending all day trying to get. Why are you spending all day commenting on Reddit? And then
Mhm.
that's what it's using as its Bible. We're in
Exactly.
the attribution channels in there. Some people very intelligent, and some people don't know what they're talking about. And how's the AI knowing, oh, this long comment that got 3 upvotes is clueless?
Uh-huh.
It doesn't know. And so thinking that it's infallible, that's one of the edges right now in 2026 is if your competition thinks, oh, the AI is infallible, just let it do everything, like they're wrong. It's a
Exactly.
very helpful tool, but it's not, and it does some things mind-blowing, but other things it doesn't. So the trick is knowing.
Exactly.
That's the
Awesome.
work.
Yeah, critical thinking is very important. Awesome, Scott. So where can people read more about you guys, reach out, check out the product?
Yep, wickedreports.com is always the best spot. We have some no opt-in demos on the demos page. You can click around, see a couple of minute videos of how things work. The AI agentic stuff has to show up on that page in about 2 weeks. The other place is I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Wicked
Awesome.
Report Scott should find me. I have a very long last name, so if you type that in, that will work, but
We
otherwise.
will share the link. Don't worry. Don't worry.
All right, thanks so much. I
Awesome.
appreciate
Great. Thank
appreciate
you
you
so
having me
much.
on.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.